Hi book friends, this is Kat. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to do my May wrap up. So I had read a total of 11 books in May, which is pretty impressive. I will say I did DNF some books though, so I'm going to explain a little bit more as I go through the ratings. But real quick, let me tell you what I had, I guess the number of ratings that I had. I did DNF 3 books. I had 1 3-star rating, 3 4-star ratings, and 4 4.5-star ratings. So pretty good. I didn't get any 5 ratings, but that's okay. I'm trying to be pretty choosy with my 5 stars, especially since I do a favorite books of the year in my journal. So my 5 stars, I try not to give away a lot. So, but nevertheless, I did enjoy a lot of the 4 stars that I did read. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, my first book, and I'll also mention that I did do the Southern Charm readathon, and so I will tell you like what prompts I got for that readathon when I go to the book. So the first book I'm going to talk about is a DNF, and that is a middle grade, and it is Keeper by Kathy Alpelt. This stood in for the free space in the readathon. The premise of this book is there's a girl named Keeper, and she is waiting for her mom to come back. The last she is remembered of her mom, I think she was 3 years old. Her mom disappears into the ocean and is never seen again. Keeper believes that her mom is a mermaid, and so she spends the first part of the book going to want to find her mother. And this book, as you can see, is huge. It is over 400 pages, I believe. Is about 400 pages, so $3.99 essentially. And so the I can't remember where I was in this book. I think it was like page 226, I think. So about, more than halfway in this book. Anyway, so where to begin? Keeper, right off the bat in the beginning, is talking about this horrible day. It takes place like one day, and she backtracks a lot, saying like what led up to these events, but the first half of the book was essentially the span of one day. And there is backstory, but there was just a lot of details. I didn't feel like it needed to be that long, let's just say. So that was my one problem with the book. The second part of the book is it does talk about totems a little bit, and I mean, I get the mythical creature mermaid and all of that, but like the totems represent like different mermaids, and she's just like calling out to the main mermaid, and she is like giving her little figurines of different types of mermaids and what they represent to the mother mermaid, I guess, and she's just like granting safe passage. So it was weird. It wasn't like something that I liked, I guess, just to kind of like giving these little totems to I guess the mother mermaid to grant safe passage and all of that, but it just kind of rubbed me a little the wrong way. The next thing about this book was there is a relationship with one of the characters in this book, and he you know that he's this lonely old man, and he is constantly thinking about another person that he knew. And you kind of get the sense like, oh, this is a love story. You find out later that he did have a relationship. Off the bat, kind of threw me off guard because, again, this is a middle grade book, and it had no way showed on the book that it had this representation in it. And I feel strongly that the book should be tagged with this information so parents are aware of what their middle schoolers are reading. Same thing like we have with other adult books. If we're putting out trigger warnings for different things, I believe that you should be able to tag books based off of the content within it. And so I did not like that, and therefore I decided that this was not the book for me. That's all I want to say about this book. All right, so sorry about the long-winded of that one, but I'm going to go ahead and go to my other DNF, and that is 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson. This was for the prompt, Chicken and Dumplings, read a comfort read. So I picked this book up because it is about traveling. So this girl named Jenny, she is a 17-year-old high schooler whose aunt died, and her aunt leaves her 13 little blue envelopes essentially, and $1,000 for her to get a passport and a plane ticket to Europe. And along the way, she leaves her letters to open once she completes the specific task that the aunt leaves her with. So comfort read. I like to travel, so I thought this would be fun. But off the bat, she indeed goes to Europe, and again, I didn't realize she was 17 years old until later on in the book. Jenny is her name. She goes to Europe without a cell phone because her aunt says don't take any technology, don't look up any guidebooks. In my mind, I'm like, that red alert, that's bad. Why would we do that? I guess people going off the grid, but at the same time, I'm like, she's 17 years old, barely graduated high school and living with her mom. So it's also like, where is mom in this situation? I get it, it's a book, it's YA, but still, like, in my mind, I'm just like, don't really like that. So she gets to London and she encounters this man who has housed her aunt, and he knows a lot about Jenny because of what the aunt has told him, but she has no idea who he is, and so she ends up staying with him. In her mind, it goes through all like the awkwardness, especially like how she's going to shower there and tries not to be a bother, and she's just like noticing, like, I guess, his living habits, and it was just an awkward situation. And later on, the aunt tasks her to find a struggling artist, I guess, to be a benefactor to. Again, it's one of the envelopes she opens up, and it's just like, okay, take this money out and go find something to be a benefactor to. So she meets this other guy that she, I guess, has grown an attraction to. And this guy, to me, has bulldozer personality all over him. He is very pushy towards her, and he takes her out for a drink, and she tells him, I'm too young to drink. And he's just like, essentially, in so many words, this is a rite of passage, and basically buys her first drink. And so to me, I'm like, okay, I don't really want to continue on, because if his personality is very pushy, I don't know where this book is going to go to. And I did skim ahead and I decided, you know what, this book is not for me. Another thing in there, Jenny, her character is pretty shallow too, so I didn't really get much of a personality from her except like her thoughts, and her thoughts are just like, this is awkward, I don't want to do this because I'm afraid what this other person's going to think. So but as I just still felt like it was very like a shallow character. So unfortunately this was not a book that I want to continue. Thought the premise was really good, traveling and everything, but uh, I don't know, just so many little things. And I think I also saw on Goodreads it was very low rated, um, and so not a lot of people liked it, anyways. But anyway, I digress. Okay, the next book was part of my game. So it was to read a fast-paced book. This one, The Only Woman in the Room by Marie Benedict. I'm sad because I really did want to like this book. It's historical fiction, and I really do like that cover. Like, this is a pretty salmon color. I liked the premise. I mean, it talked about a woman who is a theater performer in Austria, and the back says that she ends up marrying a person who sympathizes with the Nazi regime. I think he's part of it, actually, and her escape and how she comes over to California, and she's one of Hollywood's icons as well as a leading scientist. That's the premise of the book. So I thought, great, like this is something, I'll get a little bit of, old school Hollywood as well as a woman who's a scientist. And, I thought this would be a great time. And I heard good things about the book. But I don't remember where I was when I DNF'd it, but it was pretty early on. She is, like I said, an actress, and she just performed her big debut as this leading character, and she is being courted in a way by this man. And we find out she is part Jewish early on, and so she, in a way, I think she's hiding the fact that she is, because it is early Austria in like during pre-World War II. But I can't really remember that part. And the guy who's courting her, she finds out he is a weapons dealer for Germany, and he's also got a bit of a reputation about being a womanizer. But also, I think there's hints of he is a very aggressive lover in a way. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this could be a potential like very abusive relationship that she's going to go through. And she does end up going out on a date with him, and it's kind of like a forced thing because it is known of his political power as well as his political influence, and so the parents are afraid and they don't want to offend, and so in a sense it is like a forced courting thing that's happening. And the part that I ended on was their first date, and not so much the date, but there's a lot of flashbacks happening, and one of the flashbacks that had happened describes her in a scandal with this movie she did where there was nudity, and there was this scene described where it was pretty sexual, and I decided that that's it. Like, don't care to hear or read about that sexual content. So I decided to DNF this book. My next one is a 3-star read, and my 3-star read is The Queen of Katwe by Timothy Crothers. This book talks about a young girl from Katwe who is a good chess player. Like she becomes very great at what she does and is able to compete in the Olympics, essentially. Now, I heard this book on audio, and I did like that because I was able to hear a lot of like the African dialect or names um, that I probably would have skimmed through because just it's just hard to read names that aren't familiar. So I liked that I got to hear this on audio. Now, my thing with the book is 50% of the book basically was not about the young girl playing chess. It was more of setting up the mood, the scenery of Catway, which is a slum outside of a major city. And I can't remember where it is, I'm sorry. And it talks about the political wars that are going on, the poverty. At one, I got lost a lot in who was related to who because of just a lot of the different kids that were being born. I really don't know how it connected to this girl, honestly. I thought I did, but there was a lot of like back and forth. I felt like with the timeline or with different families. The premise was to show that a lot of kids couldn't trace back to their dad because young girls would try to raise money by selling themselves into prostitution, and it was it was a lot. And I know like that's a lot of the history, but it wasn't what I expected. And how the book was advertised, it made it seem like it was majority of Fiona, the young girl's childhood and her uh, her rising above what was going on and becoming like this Olympic champion. And yes, it did bring her up, but it was like halfway through the book, and even how the book ended left it open. I thought would be a little bit more like an inspiring, but I guess they went to a real world scenario, very like after all of this, that this is what they had to go back to, and this is what you deal with. And again, I guess I had a different expectation with it. It was 3 star because I did enjoy learning. The history part of me really enjoyed learning about it, but another part of me felt like it wasn't also what I expected, and I felt like the author threw in a lot of these heavy topics. It just felt like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Oh, I didn't mention about Queen of Catway. Queen of Catway also stood in for the prompt hot as blue blazes with a hot setting. So now into my 4-star reads. This one was a devotional that I have been working through, and I've actually completed it now in the month of May. So I'm just going to put it up, and this is, there we go, Called to Inspire by Marcia Ducelli or Celli, I don't know, but that is a CI, so Ducelli, Ducille. I tried my best. I liked this devotional a lot. I enjoyed that it gave you a blurb. This one says, have you applied discipline? And after you read your blurb, there's a prayer, and it's like, dear Lord, my heart is willing, but my motivation is weak. Give me a passion for discipline. You have strength in the word, which is Hebrews 12:11. No discipline is enjoyable while it is happening. It's painful, but afterward there will be a peaceful harvest. And then you have a declaration. Today I declare I'm willing to do what I have to do. And so the reason I'm not showing this is because they have lines on the side. And so I write my own prayer after I read that in the blurb. And so I write my prayer, and then on the other side is a journal entry, and I journal whatever the prompt is saying. So I don't want to show like my personal stuff there, but I like devotionals where I can journal, and even if it's a prayer or a just a prompt, I will journal based off what I've read. And there's 52 of these in there, so you could do one a week, you can do one a day. I've been on and off with this, but it's basically called to inspire. So I picked it up because I was really in a rut with the last school I was at, and um, I was wanting to get re-inspired because there was a point to where I was contemplating whether or not if I wanted to be a teacher, and this helped me through. And I found that there were also other things that I was struggling with that this has also helped me through. So I enjoyed it. If that is something you like to do, journal and all of that, then I would recommend it. All right, almost done. This is gonna be a long video, sorry. The next one is actually from my game, which is Grandmother Willow, read a retelling. And it also fulfilled the prompt, all the fixings, book with multiple genres. And so this one was Dust by Kara Swanson. So this is a 4-star. To retelling, a Peter Pan retelling. It is part of a duology. And we meet a girl named Claire. She's looking for her missing twin brother, and all signs point to London. And then we meet Peter Pan, who is stuck in London. And there's this great big mystery of what happened, why the Lost Boys are against him. And then they're supposed to like team up and go to like Neverland. Now, she does not believe in Peter Pan. There's this needed to convince her, and that, this is Peter, or rather the tale of Peter Pan is real. And then, you get the sense that why does Peter Pan need this girl? So that's the premise of the book. YA books, typically I don't enjoy them as much, but this one I did. I liked the retelling. I'm interested to know what happened, especially since it left on a cliffhanger. It was a little darker than I expected. I also was waiting for more of that Christian fiction, which honestly I couldn't really find. I think there was a mention of a little bit of like the person who created the stars when we talked to Tiger Lily, or when Tiger Lily talked about the stars. So there was that. I didn't really have much thoughts about it. It was a lot earlier within the month that I did read it. So I am interested in picking up the second book, but it's clean. It's not, I wouldn't really classify it as Christian fiction, but it was still a nice retelling fantasy book. So I did like that the author did put elements from the Disney movie in it, like the descriptions and some of the characters, and I thought that was very clever. Okay, my last 4-star is Vendetta by Lisa Harris, and this is part of her Nikki Boyd Files, which is a 4-book series. I thought it was a 3-book, but it's a 4-book. This stands in for the prompt, Heavens to Betsy, mystery or thriller that will shock you. And so I thought this was a perfect one. This book is about a woman named Nikki who works in the Tennessee Missing Persons Task Force. She gets into this job because her own sister had been abducted 10 years ago, and she has been searching for her since. This book really does lean in heavy with child abduction, because Nikki takes on a case where she needs to find this girl, and then all of a sudden she is left wondering if this same abductor was the person who took her sister. And um, the story goes on from there. So I guess that's a first trigger warning there. With this does deal with child abduction, especially through the use of technology. So pretty scary stuff. Nikki has this friend who's also going through something as well. There is this love interest in a way. It's kind of weird. It's actually like a friends, but neither of them want to admit their true feelings because neither of them realize that they like each other. And that trope, I guess, has to be done right to me, because I guess you can call me old fashioned, or maybe I have high expectations, but to me, I feel that if you are friends and you don't know what your feelings are, which to me, I'm like, be honest with yourself, but sometimes, yeah, you don't know, fine. But in this case, they're friends, and she is um, very close with him. She goes with him, it's in the beginning, on this hiking trip, and they're rappelling off this cliff. And they're doing this together, but it's on the anniversary of his wife's death. And that was her best friend. So they're doing this, in memory of his wife, Katie. And she has almost a freak accident, and, he saves her. And then we see how much they are close. There is a lot of hugging, there is a lot of like caressing. Well, not a lot, but there is like this hand holding scene. And again, I'm thinking, are they dating? Did I miss something? And it turns out, no, they're not. Actually, she is dating someone else, and she kind of likes him, but there's no sparks. And the guy that she is with is teasing her about it and will ask her about her date. So it's really weird to me, because I guess I'm not used to like an overly friendly like relationship like that. Like growing up in high school, I actually was not one of those who would like hold hands with their best friends, or like give front hugs, or um, get massages from their best friends that happen to be guys. Like my best friend in high school honestly was my husband, and I knew I liked him, but I was very like non-PDA. I didn't show that. I didn't show PDA. I didn't like that. And then it didn't struck me as a normalized thing until I got to college, where I saw that a lot more often. Like they were just friends, but they're holding hands, and that was like or caressing each other. And to me, it felt like that was weird. So I'm not sure if that is a normalized thing, but to me, I guess my personality, I just don't like PDA in that way. To me, it's like that's more of an intimate gesture that you would do for a boyfriend, girlfriend, a fiance, or even marriage. So the fact that this book had that in there, and I get what the author was trying to do, was trying to show like there was this build up in attraction towards each other. But I guess that was my one little thing about the book that annoyed me. But again, minute detail, but the thriller part was very good. I like to try to guess who it is, and I can't. But it was very like I couldn't put this book down, honestly. I think I read it in 2 days. I'm interested to see what is going to happen later on in the series, and I really think Lisa Harris is a great writer when it comes to real true crime thrillers. There is some like Christian aspects to it. There are hints to it. Usually when these characters find like they are struggling to believe in God being in the midst of something so tragic. And um, you know, they there are some like real life like doubts that, you know, I believe people can identify with. But I wouldn't say this is super heavy in that. It's more heavy in like the mystery. So yeah, anyway, I will be picking up the second book hopefully soon. Now, my 4.5 stars, there are four of these. And the next one I am just going to touch on briefly because I did do a review on this book. This stood in for the prompt Bless Your Heart, an emotional, heartwarming book. This one I really enjoyed, and it is Burning Sky by Lori Benton. I did a whole book review on this. I loved reading about that part of history. It is heavy in some of the topics, but it is a great story. I liked it, and I'm going to read more from this author. Real quick, this story is about a woman who grew up in New York during pre-American Revolution. She gets taken by Mohawk Indians and then is raised with them, and then she comes back to her birth parents' home only to find everyone gone, and she's picking up the pieces of her life. So you get this mystery part with it, like what happened to her parents, why did she leave the Mohawk Indian tribe, what's, you know, gonna be her future essentially. And she's struggling to decide which world she really wants to be in. She really wants to be alone essentially. So you get another perspective because you do have her clan brother, and his name is Joseph, tames this horse, I think, and he is trying to convince her to come back to live with the Mohawks, and he'll take care of her. And so this story has just a lot of emotion that goes with it. It does talk about God in it and how where he is in the midst of all that is happening. And I cannot recommend this book enough. It does get dark in some places of the story. There is like some abuse, there is some tragic scenes, but I really think if you like historical fiction and a good love story too, it's definitely in there. And that's all I have to say about this book. Oh, I also heard this book on audio, and it was part of the Christie Award winning list for Book of the Year, and I believe it won 2014. So I could see why. Going right along with my 4.5 stars, I have Boo Hoo by Renee Gutteridge, and this is the second book in the Boo series. This book also fulfilled the prompt, hey y'all, more than one point of view. And I loved the first book. The second book, I loved it. I just didn't like it as much. And I think because where we took off from the last book, it starts right off the bat with the town struggling like with its identity, and that's not the only identity that's having the struggle. And so we have Boo and the love interest in this book, and she was probably my least favorite, one of my least favorite characters in the book, and it's because of, I guess, what her growth is going through. I'm trying not to give a lot away within the book in the series, but let's just say what she is going through in this book, I felt like wasn't her character, and I get that like she is going through this her own identity thing, but I guess I just kind of found it very like annoying. She was a little annoying in here. There was also another character in here You meet her in the first book. Mel um, was also very like annoying. I felt like this book was a little bit like stressful for me to read um, because of what they were going through, and I felt like a lot of things that were happening were because of miscommunication. And I get like the first book was kind of like that way, but maybe it was because the first book was really new to me. I haven't read something with that many points of views that were done right, and so I really did enjoy the first one. Or maybe it was just the topic matter within the book that I found was very stressful. Um, Again, I can't really give a lot of away because you have to read the first one. Yeah, that's why I didn't get a 5 star, but it still got a 4.5 star. It was still really good. I really want to see where the series is going. I always find that it could be like I always find it humorous, and I think Renee does a great job at adding that humor, that comic relief, even with like some of the characters. Um, but I'm always transported into this town. And there's a lot of things I did not expect, especially with another character. I'm in shock actually about what happened. But again, really like it. You never know what's going to happen. Even when you feel like, oh, that's a cliche, but it's very funny. And if I ever find these books on audio, I think I might want to try that just to hear the different voice inflections in it. So, recommend the series. The next one is a prompt that I got in my game, and that is no voice, you have no say. Use a random letter generator for the title, and this is actually perfect because the no voice prompt was in relation to Ariel when she loses her voice. And what better book that fit this prompt than Part of Your World by Jodi Benson. I got the letter P, and so this was one, I think this was the only book that I had that started with the letter P, so it was really meant to be. Jodi Benson, if you don't know, is the voice of the original Little Mermaid, and man, you can hear it in the audio because I did listen it through audio, and it sounds like a more mature Ariel. So loved that. Um, this also fulfilled the prompt: sweet tea, something sweet on the cover, or a sweet story. So this book, I actually put this as my favorite of the month. I think it's all because of nostalgia, but I really liked this book. This book, again, talks about Jodi Benson and her story. The forward part of this book is actually introduced by another person, and she is the voice of Belle. And that, again, was fantastic because I heard a more mature like voice of Belle, of the original Beauty and the Beast, and it was so much fun um, to just listen to those voices. But anyway, this story starts with Jodi's walk through her career, and not only through her career but her faith journey. She is a believer. She is known to be a believer, but she didn't start off like in a typical like church going home. I mean, she did, but she wasn't like she didn't really know Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior, not like when she was growing up. And her testimony is great. She's not one to mince words. She is very authentic, very raw in what she is talking about. She does get into the nitty gritty about her marriage and some of the struggles that she goes through. Her struggles as a theater performer, and then I guess what happened when she does get to becoming the voice of Ariel, and then I think a little bit afterwards. There were a few things within the book where I felt like it was a little slow, I guess. especially towards the end, like ending the book. But yeah, it was still great. I enjoyed every moment of it. She's not afraid to share her faith at all, and everybody who knew her knew that. And you get a little bit of Disney history as well within it. So if you're a Disney fan, I would recommend it. I honestly would recommend the audiobook because it's just great hearing her speaking. So all right. Sorry, I'm a little voice tired, but I do have one more book I'm going to talk about. And this book was a prompt howdy partner featuring friendship and family. It is also the book that I chose for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, and that is Indivisible by Travis Thrasher. So this book is a movie as well, and I think this book was written from the movie, but it was based off of a true story. And we are following this family where the father, his name is Darren, and he is deployed to Iraq. And, he leaves behind his wife and his 3 small children. And it goes through his experiences there and her experiences at home. And this is like a 15-month deployment, which crazy for me to think because I can't fathom what mother, even with 3 small kids, raising them without her partner for that long period of time. I know like it's done, and I know that there are even single mothers out there, but to me, I can't imagine that, how hard that could be. So anyway, the book does talk about his time there and then his time coming back, and just their marriage has struggled, and what the means they're taking to fight to save their marriage. And he is an army chaplain, so he's also dealing with all these emotional needs out in the battlefield, as well as when they come back. And then he's also struggling, but then he also is like, I'm a chaplain, I shouldn't be struggling with these things. I should be the one out there helping others. And then you get Heather, who's like so used to picking up the role of mother and father for a while, and then wanting her husband to come back and be a part of this family, but he's emotionally not there, and she is struggling with that. So it's a hard-hitting book. The faith content is there. Again, it's that, where is God in this? And I think that, again, these are real questions that people do have. And I'm glad that this book is not afraid to go there and not providing like the cliche answers or like the band-aid answers, but like truth. And but also not only that you apply truth, but there is a heart there too that is like, your grief is real, your anger is real, but let's unpack it. Let's look to scripture, and I'm going to stand by you as we're walking through this. Kind of like that community. And I think that is important. And it's a hard topic to walk through. So I liked it a lot. It is very to the point. There are pictures in the back of the book, and it's like the screen set people, like the people who are in the movie Indivisible, and then it has the actual family that the story was inspired from towards the back, and yeah, towards the back. So I like, again, the pictures for that. I would be interested in viewing the film. I think that that would also just add to the enjoyment of the book. But anyway, I don't know if you can tell, my voice got really tired. 11 books is quite a lot. So if I am continuing with this trend, I might just do a mid-month wrap up for June, and then end of month wrap up, because just this video is pretty long. So that's all the books I've read for the month of May. And I can't wait to see what June has in store. I feel like I got a pretty good stack of books. For those who are interested in my husband's reads, I do have his prompts. He had gotten Royal Guards, 3 or more people need to be on the cover, and Cocoa read a book written by a man. So he decided to pair these two, and he was reading Patrick O'Brien's book Post Captain, and this is book 2 in the Master and Commander series or something like that. And honestly, he looked up to see how long the series was. I think there's like 22 books in the series. He's basically is like, if I continue with it, I continue with it, or if I decide not to, then no sweat. He's kind of one of those, like, I don't mind not finishing a series. So but yeah, he read Post Captain, and he's not really done, honestly, but he like is more than halfway done. And actually, I don't want to pull this out, but you see this, it's like a little what's it called, sword bookmark. And the sword, for his birthday, I got him like little bookmarks, and they're all different swords. And so I thought that was really cool. I like looking at people's bookmarks and what all the different ones look like. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. The other one was a mood read, and he decided to pick up this book, and this is Creative Confidence: Unleashing the Creative Potential Within Us All by Tom Kelly and David Kelly. And this was actually a required read from his school. He had to do like this book report for PD hours, professional development hours. And so that's what he used his mood read on, and he did finish it. But yeah, that was that book. From what I know is he enjoyed the Post Captain book and the required read. I think he got a little bit from it, but that's not, I don't have a rating or anything for you about that. So yep, those were his prompts and what he chose for them. So that's all I have for that part. So anyway, I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.